10. Biggest jerks in Hollywood history. Here goes my vote. That will shock you. Welcome to Uncovered Tinseltown. Uncovered. But today we're diving deep into the dark side of Hollywood royalty. You've seen them on the big screen, idolize their talent and praise their legacy. But what if we told you some of the most celebrated stars were also the biggest jerks behind the scenes? From shocking abuse to unforgivable arrogance. This list will change the way you see these icons forever. Stick around, because the truth isn't always pretty. Who's the worst of them all? Watch until the end, then sound off in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bing Crosby. Smooth baritone and relaxed stage presence made him one of the most beloved entertainers of the 20th century, with over 500 million records sold and hits like White Christmas etched into American memory. But behind the warm smile lay a father whose private life would later darken his public image. In his 1983 memoir, Going My Own Way, Crosby's eldest son, Gary Crosby, made disturbing claims about their upbringing. He alleged that Bing was not only emotionally distant but physically abusive, using a studded leather belt as punishment. Gary described a rigid household where perfection was expected and affection was scarce. Even more unsettling were the reports that household staff enforced Bing's strict rules, allegedly giving the Crosby children drowning treatments in the bathtub for minor offenses like talking in bed. Though Bing's public persona remained squeaky clean, these revelations painted a far more troubling picture at home. Tragically, two of Crosby's sons, Lindsay and Dennis, later died by suicide, leading many to wonder if the pressure and trauma from their childhood contributed to their despair. Crosby's strained family life wasn't his only questionable legacy. Despite starring in 7 Road to films with Bob Hope admitted to friends that he privately disliked Crosby and often found him intolerable off-camera. This discord between their cheerful on-screen banter and personal tension added another layer to the contradictions surrounding Crosby's image. Though Bing Crosby remains a titan of music and film, the lingering accounts from his family and peers raise painful questions. Was he a victim of his era's parenting norms or something far more severe? For many, the charm of his voice is forever shadowed by the silence of the children he left emotionally battered. Milton Berle, affectionately known as Mr. Television, was one of the most powerful comedic figures in early TV history. With his long-running show Texaco Star Theater, he became a household name and brought television into mainstream American living rooms. But behind the cigar and slapstick was a man infamous in showbiz circles for stealing material. So rampant was his plagiarism that he earned the cutting nickname the Thief of Bad Gags. Despite his cultural clout, Berle's arrogance and control issues repeatedly sabotaged his professional relationships. His 1979 guest hosting of Saturday Night Live was so chaotic that Lorne Michaels, the show's creator, permanently banned the episode from re-airing. Berle reportedly refused to follow scripts, tried to dominate rehearsals, and forced in stale bits from his vaudeville days, alienating cast members and the writing staff alike. One of his most infamous moments came during the 1993 MTV Video Music Awards. In what was supposed to be a light-hearted generational handoff, Berle clashed with RuPaul on stage, turning a planned joke into a tense, unscripted embarrassment. RuPaul later confirmed they had no chemistry and that the encounter was far from friendly. Beyond the stage and screen, Berle's reputation was stained by his immense ego. Known for his crude humor and womanizing, he often bragged about his sexual exploits with zero discretion. While his comedic influence is undeniable, earning him an Emmy and a Television Hall of Fame spot, Berle's legacy is equally defined by his inability to respect boundaries, collaborators, or evolving standards of comedy. Even in death, his behavior continues to spark debate. Was he a pioneering comic genius or a relic of an era where arrogance was rewarded more than talent? Zsa Gabor embodied Hollywood excess. The Hungarian-American actress and socialite became a tabloid staple known as much for her one-liners as for her 9 marriages. With a thick accent, dramatic flair, and a taste for luxury, she often described herself as a marriageaholic and said she was a great housekeeper. "Every time I leave a man, I keep the house." Yet beneath the diamonds and designer gowns was a deeply troubled woman who left lasting scars on her closest relationships, especially with her only child, Francesca Hilton. Gabor paraded Francesca on red carpets when she was young, but reportedly turned cold when her daughter failed to meet Zaza's standards of glamour. The real heartbreak came after Francesca's father, hotel magnate Conrad Hilton, died. Despite his vast fortune, Francesca received only $100,000 in his will. Gabor, instead of supporting her daughter's legal battle for a fair share, remained largely uninvolved, watching as Francesca's financial life crumbled. Their estrangement grew so severe that Francesca was left destitute at the time of her death in 2015, with friends claiming she'd been virtually abandoned. Gabor, by contrast, remained comfortably ensconced in Beverly Hills with her final husband, Frederick Prince von Anhalt, who himself adopted several adult men to create a faux royal dynasty. Though Gabor lived to 99 and remained in the spotlight even as her health failed, her legacy is haunted by charges of vanity and maternal neglect. Some critics even liken her public persona to modern-day reality stars famous for being famous. Despite her beauty and wit, Gabor's name is often whispered with more contempt than admiration. Was she a survivor of a cutthroat era or one of its most ruthless participants? Errol Flynn. The swashbuckling hero of Captain Blood and the adventures of Robin Hood epitomized Golden Age masculinity. With his roguish grin and athletic grace, he dazzled audiences in action-packed epics. Yet his off-screen behavior painted a far more disturbing portrait, one of hedonism, scandal, and self-destruction. In 1942, Flynn was charged in 2 separate cases of statutory rape involving underage girls. Though he was acquitted in both trials, the damage to his public image was significant. Ironically, the phrase "in like Flynn" became a pop culture idiom following the court cases, forever linking his name with sexual conquest. Flynn's libertine lifestyle extended well beyond legal controversy. His homes were reputed to be dens of excess filled with alcohol, young women, and around-the-clock parties. In 1980, author Charles Hyam's biography, Errol Flynn, The Untold Story, alleged that Flynn had Nazi sympathies and same-sex affairs, though these claims were later discredited by other historians. Still, the rumors added fuel to an already volatile legacy. As Flynn aged, his lifestyle caught up with him. Once lauded for his physicality, he began playing alcoholic has-beens, mirroring his real-life decline. By the time he died of a heart attack in 1959, at just 50 years old, the coroner remarked that Flynn's body resembled that of an 85-year-old man ravaged by years of abuse. Errol Flynn remains one of Hollywood's most iconic and conflicted figures. For every tale of cinematic heroism, there's another about personal recklessness and ethical failure. Was he a charismatic rebel who lived too fast, or a reckless narcissist who destroyed more than just his own legacy? Gene Kelly dazzled the world with his athletic, groundbreaking choreography in classics like Singin' in the Rain and An American in Paris. With his toothy grin and energetic moves, he redefined American dance on film. But behind the gleam of his polished performances, stories of off-screen ruthlessness and troubling allegations began to surface, suggesting his charm may have masked something darker. Kelly's demand for perfection bordered on obsession. Dancers often left rehearsals bruised and emotionally drained. One famous account involved dancer Sid Charisse returning home from set, battered after partnering with Kelly, an incident so severe that her husband immediately suspected abuse. While some saw this as collateral damage of high standards, others viewed it as calculated cruelty. In 1970, controversy erupted when journalist claims emerged that Kelly had secretly met with Irish Republican Army leader Cathal Goulding and handed over a check for £20,000 allegedly for purchasing weapons, not charity. According to reports, Kelly chillingly said, This money is for guns. I certainly don't want it going to do-gooders. Though these accusations were later denied by his widow Patricia Ward Kelly, they remain one of the most startling allegations tied to his legacy. Colleagues also criticized Kelly for his cold, dominating presence on set. He was known to micromanage every element of production, often clashing with co-stars and directors. While some admired his precision, others found it toxic and demeaning. Today, Gene Kelly's influence on film and choreography remains monumental, but the man behind the magic wasn't always so graceful. His pursuit of excellence came at the cost of kindness, and depending on who you ask, he was either a driven genius or an unbearable dictator in dance shoes. John Wayne was the embodiment of rugged American masculinity, a towering figure in westerns and war films. With over 170 screen credits and an Oscar for True Grit, he became a symbol of strength and patriotism. But Wayne's off-screen persona revealed beliefs so inflammatory that they've cast a long shadow over his legendary career. In a notorious 1971 Playboy interview, Wayne declared, "I believe in white supremacy," and argued that black people were not yet educated enough to govern responsibly. He also condemned homosexuality, labeling films like Midnight Cowboy as perverse. Though Wayne claimed these views stemmed from his generation's norms, the backlash has only grown louder with time. Earlier in his career, he had identified as a socialist, an ironic contrast to his later far-right stances, including support for Barry Goldwater, who opposed the Civil Rights Act. Wayne's transformation from liberal to staunch conservative wasn't subtle. It became central to his identity, alienating many who once admired him. Even more contradictory, Wayne maintained a personal friendship with gay actor Rock Hudson, whom he co-starred with in The Undefeated. Despite Wayne's public condemnation of homosexuality, the two men reportedly shared mutual respect until Wayne's death in 1979. Calls have been made to remove Wayne's name from public institutions such as the Orange County Airport due to his legacy of bigotry. Students at film schools have walked out during screenings of his films in protest, unable to separate his cinematic triumphs from his prejudiced ideology. Though his films remain deeply embedded in American pop culture, John Wayne's personal views have become a cautionary tale of how even giants can fall, not because of what they built, but because of what they believed. Bette Davis was the epitome of golden age acting brilliance. With 2 Oscars, 10 nominations, and unforgettable performances in films like All About Eve, she was a commanding force on screen. Yet Davis was equally infamous for her volcanic temper, unrelenting ambition, and explosive relationships behind the scenes. One chilling anecdote captures the essence of her intensity. During a dinner with director Herschel Dougherty, Davis erupted into a profanity-laced tirade after he wagged a finger in her face, a move so fearsome it emptied half the restaurant. She then calmly resumed eating as if nothing had happened. Her no-nonsense demeanor wasn't reserved for public settings alone. On the set of Mr. Skeffington, she reportedly had to rinse her eyes constantly between takes due to harsh studio lights. But what's more unsettling is the alleged sabotage that followed. Someone poisoned her eyewash, a mystery that remains unsolved. Director Vincent Sherman once said that if police had asked who wanted Davis dead, 100 people would have raised their hands. Davis was also known to feud bitterly with co-stars, most notoriously Joan Crawford. Their legendary rivalry during the filming of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane culminated in Oscar sabotage, when Davis got nominated and Crawford didn't. Crawford lobbied to present the award and accepted it on behalf of winner Anne Bancroft, robbing Davis of the spotlight. While many admired Davis's confidence and grit in a male-dominated industry, others found her insufferable and volatile. Her refusal to bend earned her a reputation as a trailblazer, but also as one of the most difficult women in Hollywood history. To her admirers, she was fearless. To her detractors, she was pure poison. Either way, Bette Davis never settled for being liked, only remembered. Mickey Rooney was once Hollywood's most bankable star, famed for his Andy Hardy roles and wide-eyed charm. But behind the affable grin was a man known for reckless indulgence, endless drama, and deeply problematic behavior that soured many of his relationships and shattered his public image. Rooney married 8 times, with each union steeped in scandal, infidelity, or fiery collapse. His tell-all autobiography, Life is Too Short, shocked readers with explicit descriptions of affairs, even naming names like a torrid relationship with Norma Shearer during Marie Antoinette that enraged MGM studio head Louis B. Mayer. He even recounted his first visit to a brothel as a teen, led by none other than Milton Berle. Rooney's brashness extended to outing friends. He wrote that Judy Garland had a lesbian affair, exposing private matters with apparent glee. Even more disturbing were persistent though heavily disputed rumors that Rooney, then 24, had an inappropriate relationship with a 14-year-old Elizabeth Taylor during National Velvet. Though many biographers and historians dismiss the claim as exaggerated, its mere existence has clouded Rooney's legacy. Craig Bennett's 2019 book, True Confessions of a Shameless Gossip, portrayed Rooney as a domineering narcissist prone to rude outbursts and public humiliation of peers. Despite the chaos, Rooney attempted to spin his flaws into comedy in his later years, often poking fun at his reputation on shows like The Simpsons. He may have died a legend, but Mickey Rooney left behind a fractured legacy. His on-screen innocence was largely a performance off camera. He was a storm of vanity, betrayal, and impulsiveness. For many who worked with or loved him, he wasn't Hollywood's little rascal, he was its uncontrollable wild card. Joan Crawford. An emblem of Hollywood glamour, built her fame on determination, elegance, and pure star power. But behind her meticulously crafted persona was a woman whose ambition often veered into cruelty, particularly in the eyes of her own daughter. The release of Mommy Dearest in 1978 by adopted daughter Christina Crawford forever shattered Crawford's polished image. Christina's memoir painted a terrifying picture, a mother obsessed with image, cleanliness, and control. Allegations included beatings, emotional abuse, and public shaming over minor infractions. While some dismissed the book as an act of vengeance, others who knew Crawford acknowledged her controlling nature, heavy drinking, and obsessive need for perfection. The infamous no wire hangers scene, later immortalized in the film adaptation, became symbolic of parental tyranny. Crawford's cruelty wasn't limited to her home. Her rivalry with Bette Davis on the set of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane turned toxic when Crawford, bitter over not receiving an Oscar nomination, arranged to accept the award on behalf of Anne Bancroft, publicly stealing the spotlight from Davis. She also stirred gossip with rumored affairs, including one with Marilyn Monroe. Multiple divorces named her as the other woman. Despite adopting 4 children, 2 were reportedly acquired through shady back channels. Christina and her brother Christopher were completely cut from Crawford's will, receiving, for reasons well known to them, nothing, while her remaining 2 adopted children received modest inheritances. By the time of her death in 1977, Crawford had alienated many of those closest to her. Though she remains a screen legend, her name now echoes with as much fear as fascination. Was Joan Crawford a product of Hollywood's brutal machine or one of its most heartless architects? Charlie Chaplin revolutionized cinema with his silent-era masterpiece, The Kid, his poignant social commentary in modern times, and his unforgettable character, the Tramp. Yet Chaplin's off-screen behavior stood in stark contrast to the innocence he projected. His obsessive perfectionism, serial relationships with underage women, and abusive tendencies have stained his cinematic brilliance. Chaplin was notorious for brutal working conditions on set. Crew members and actors often recounted endless retakes and eruptions of anger. He once fired an entire film crew in a single day for not matching his artistic vision. Verbal abuse and tantrums weren't rare, they were routine. His romantic life was even more troubling. Chaplin married 4 times. His first wife was 16 when they wed. The second was 16 as well. At age 54, he married 18-year-old Una O'Neill, daughter of playwright Eugene O'Neill, who was so outraged he cut off all contact with her. While the marriage lasted until Chaplin's death, It was far from romanticized by those who witnessed it. Chaplin also faced legal battles involving paternity suits and accusations of coercion. In 1944, actress Joan Barry accused him of fathering her child. Though blood tests disproved paternity, the court still ordered Chaplin to pay child support. This scandal, paired with his outspoken political views and suspicions of communist sympathies, led to his exile from the U.S. in 1952. Despite his cinematic legacy, many former wives described Chaplin as controlling, emotionally abusive, and obsessed with youth. He demanded devotion while offering little in return. Though audiences still laugh at city lights, those close to him weren't smiling. Charlie Chaplin may have given the world silent comedy, but in real life his cruelty was deafening. So, after hearing these shocking revelations about Hollywood's so-called legends, we have to ask, does greatness on screen excuse cruelty behind the scenes? From abusive parenting to bigoted rants, from stolen spotlights to manipulative marriages, these stars left behind legacies as infamous as they were iconic. At Uncovered Tinseltown Uncovered, we believe in celebrating talent, but not at the cost of truth. Which of these stars shocked you the most? Do you think any of them were unfairly judged, or did they truly earn their place on this list? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.